Guys, this is Lindsey Huddleston with Sports Psychology Solutions back in the building. Everett versus Waverly. I should say Waverly versus Everett, the home team, and the team that's going to be recognizing the 2000 state champions. But before we get to that halftime recognition, I got the champions sitting right here. I got Mr. Cortney Scott. Brother, how you doing?
Good.
Brother Donte Adams as well. These guys got great stories that we'll talk about, from him being a freshman, him being a senior, early morning workout, 6 a.m. breakfast clubs, and helping each other.
Yes,
so what does it mean for you guys to come back here tonight for your recognition?
For me, it means everything. I think as I got older in my craft and older in my career, it's not so much about me no more. It's about what I left behind, right? But my son to be out here tonight and see this, you know what I'm saying? That's what I played for. You know, at that time, it was all individual. You know what I mean? It's me, this and that. But now it's like, man, to see my team 20 years later, to see the crowd, everybody that was at that 99, 2000 year to come out.
They're here.
And everybody saying, man, we never seen a crowd like this.
There's nothing but energy and electricity here right now.
This was a norm when I played.
Wow.
This was a norm.
Is it because they knew you guys were on the cusp of winning something big?
I think that, and then we had a different approach as players, as athletes, as students. We was very engaged in the school. You know what I mean? Okay. Marcus was always a 3-point student. I was a 3-point student. We demanded that from ourselves, from an academic standpoint, and then from an athletic standpoint. You know, Marcus do.
Sure.
You know, Gatorade Player of the Year, Michigan. I can name accolade after accolade, and then I kind of follow suit. And then I demanded that from this group. You know what I'm saying?
Being a freshman coming up.
Yeah, it trickled down, man. I can remember walking in today was kind of like my first day I walked in, man. These guys I was like, man, these guys tall, you know, they can ball. So, but they took me up, especially him, took me on the wing, picked me up, you know. We was working out in the gym, all of that. And walking in here today, it's like, I'm looking at it like, okay, that's the crowd, because these guys brought the crowd out.
You know, the crowd is here, and it's kind of like reminiscent for you guys going back. But there's one unique factor that's different. You guys, we didn't have social media to the impact what it was like now. Can you just imagine what it would have been like having social media during your 99, 2000 run? What do you think that would have been like?
It'd have been insane. Because what people people tend to forget with Waverly in general, right? If you look at our history that year, our senior year, we lost 2 games? My JV team lost 2? 1?
I think we lost 1. You got good.
Freshman lost 1. You know what I'm saying? So if you look at the program overall, I think we was at a 94 winning percentile.
Wow.
So not only did we lead the program. So not only did Phil lead the way, you had Craig Fields, right? That was a JV coach. And unfortunately, Coach Carr, he passed away last year. But he led the way too. And then how we operated was more towards like a college style. So you had Craig was the head, you had Phil was the head, and then you had individual coaches. Coach Dutcher was another coach. Coach Harlow was another coach. And he focused on bigs, he focused on offense, he focused on defense. And we break down film. We started just think about it. Now they do this. But we talking about 99, 2000, 98, 97. We was breaking down film, looking at players. Okay, this player did this player did this player did this. And we talking about city schools, as well as when we went to the tournament run.
Sure.
So I feel that our coaching staff was very forthcoming and thought ahead of time.
Sure.
You know, like even Coach Allen, he was recruiting, or he was helping like Michigan State. He helped Brian Greggy ride down Georgia Tech in Florida. His thought process as a coach was so far advanced, and it taught us, because when I got to the transition from high school to college, it wasn't as hard. I knew help side defense. I knew what to do. I knew how to jam screens. I knew how to do this. And a lot of guys get there from other schools. They couldn't do this. They didn't have that mentality.
So this is how the coach and the program prepared.
I walked into practice and I was told I went and I had to watch film. And when I got moved up to varsity, and they said, you're going to be this player. Who was it? Saginaw.
Arthur Hill? No, Saginaw. Saginaw High.
Yeah, Saginaw High. That was their point guard.
You kind of
Anthony Roberson.
Anthony Roberson.
Oh, wow.
I had to mimic his moves.
Wow.
Because I was moving up from freshman.
That's all collegiate right there.
I had to mimic his moves. I mean, basically, you know, back in the day, he had the green light.
Right.
In practice, when we scrimmaged to start the team, I had the green light. You couldn't tell me that.
You was doing your job.
You couldn't tell me nothing. But that's how our coaches did. They said they sat me down in the room. I'm sitting. I said, "Well, I'm not practicing with the other fellas." They said, "You need to be him."
Wow.
So I watched him and mimicked his moves.
Going back to 99, 2000, did you guys know you were going to win the championship, or you felt that you had a good chance?
So honestly, I think my junior year, if Terry Reddick would have been eligible, we had a good shot at it.
Okay.
Terry Reddick was always our sleeper guy.
Okay.
Yep.
That was my best friend growing up. Me and him both came up from Jackson. And I would tell you, he was a sleeper. He was a flat-out sleeper. And then when you add Chris Miller, when you add a Melvin White to the program, everybody didn't care about the personal stats.
Right.
All we cared about was winning.
Right.
We put all that to the side. And I think that was one thing I did earlier in my career. I remember me and Marcus talked about this. We going to sign early so we can focus on our senior year. Our high school, college, our college thing,
it's taken care of.
We done. Right. We ain't got to worry about nothing. Let's focus on ending our career on a positive note.
Right.
And the crazy thing is, it's like, I remember sitting on the stage with Marcus, and he was between Syracuse and Mississippi State.
Wow. Coach Beheim or Coach
Izzo. I mean,
wow.
And I told him, he's like, what do you do? I said, bro, you got to do what you do. You feel is best. I'm going to support you 110% no matter what. I knew I was going to Iowa. Right. There was no doubt in my mind I was going to Iowa because I loved everything about Iowa.
Right.
And he got up there and he chose Michigan State. I chose Iowa. Let's do it.
Right.
Let's do it.
Right.
And everything else is just like, I remember like the first loss we had. I remember sitting in the locker room talking about it, and we was talking like, him and Seawright, Maurice Seawright was going back and forth. And I remember having that conversation like, look, all the personal accolades we don't care about. That don't mean nothing to me.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things. You're going to get Hall of Fame no matter what.
Sure.
Your skill set in what you did in high school, you're going to get that.
Right.
But when it comes to us, we need to put that to the basket, right? We need to put that to the wayside. And it literally was the 5 seniors, Chris Miller, Melvin, Terry, me, Marcus sitting there saying like, look, we're going to be thicker than thieves. Yeah. We went out together. We went to dinner together. We went to the movies together.
You hear that so many times, even from the NBA level, those teams. They say the Lakers, the whole roster of 14, they go everywhere together.
Everywhere.
Let me ask this question to you guys too. When you talked about social media, and the pressure, can you imagine playing in this level of pressure, or do you think it may be the same, or how could someone deal with the pressure right now?
I think it was pressure then because, when I came in as a freshman and they were senior, they had the whole school riding on their backs. Yeah. You walk in the hallway, what you guys gonna do today?
Wow.
Prep rallies. People from other schools. This gym, it used to have an upstairs, and that used to be packed out too. So the world was already watching the news, So I think that pressure was already there. It's stuff. It would have been a lot more highlights for Waverly on Facebook and Instagram.
It was just the social media to add more to it. Cortney, what do you think?
I think now. So I look at it a little differently, right? I get exactly what you're saying. The only difference is the instant gratification. I look at some of these kids now, and some of the pressures from the parents.
Right.
From the parents.
Right.
No disrespect to the parents, but some of the pressures from the parents. I want my kid to be the next Marcus Taylor. First and foremost, let me explain to people. Marcus Taylor was a very talented gentleman. There's not going to be too many of him, right? That's like a Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. It's the exact conversation I had recently with him passing, right?
Yeah.
I tell people there's not going to be too many Kobe Bryants, right? Like it's just not going to happen.
Right.
Nowadays, everybody comes into the situation. I'm going to tell the coach how to coach because I want my son to be this or my daughter to be this. First of all, it's not about that. Learn to love the game.
Right.
Learn to love. For me personally, I needed to learn how to love the game first and foremost. And then everything after that, Coach Island, I remember sitting down with him, and he had a lot of pressures. He had a lot of pressure going into our senior year from outside and stuff like that. And I remember sitting down with him, and he was like, he wanted this, and this. Coach, you the coach. I'm the player. I got to trust in you. And I think Nowadays, you see like a lot of like the Lonzo Ball. There's no disrespect to Lonzo, right? Sure. I love him as a parent. I think what he's doing with his sons is phenomenal. Right. But the only thing that I question is, are you putting too much pressure on your kids?
Right.
Like me personally, as a father now, and I'm looking at my son.
How old is your son?
My son is only 2. And my wife and I talked about this. I put the pressure up from the academia standpoint, but when it comes to the athletic standpoint, hey, listen, hold on. Let him love the game first, and then I can apply the pressure. Because when you start to love the game, regardless of what you play, I can add the pressure and say, I want you to get better. And I think that's where nowadays I see a lot of kids, they don't really love the game. Like me now, I can tell you the diameter of the rim is this tall, the length of the court is this, the width of the court is this.
The way the gym's
I could tell you who played here. I could tell you who played what. I could tell you who led the rebounders, points, and everything. I could tell you all of that. But nowadays, these kids, they can't tell you that.
No.
They can't tell you that.
No. And even with Google, they can't even pull up stats and people.
Bro, I watched the rookie NBA challenge the other day. There was so much stuff they didn't know from the guys that played the game. Wow. And I remember telling my brother this. I'm like, dang, how do you not know this? Yeah, we were students of the game.
Right. Now, so I really want to go back to something you said I think is powerful, is that you don't let your bias for basketball overshadow your kid getting a chance to get it like that, as opposed to saying, I was great in ball, you're going to be great in ball, and let me keep this legacy going through you.
No, because I think at some point, right, my son's got to make a decision what he want to do, and I got to support and love it. Regardless of what I did, that was my passion. That's
different, though, but you know that's only different because how many people that still got that feeling that it sounds like you're really fulfilled, Cortney.
And I think that's where I've seen, like, it's funny because me and Marcus talked about that, right? And the one thing I loved about his dad, man, his dad really supported him. And his dad pushed him, but he loved the game. And a lot of people don't think about that. They're like, oh, you know, and there was a negative condescension about his dad, not knowing that his dad was doing what's best for his son.
Because he loved the game.
He loved the game. He loved the game. He pushed his son to a level where he said, I don't want you working in General Motors, putting parts on cars. I want you better than that. And a lot of people don't understand that. But the one thing that people don't realize, he loved the game.
Sure.
And for me, it's like,
so he was doing it for himself.
Yes.
He wasn't doing it to fulfill
and they don't know that
one.
Right. They don't know that.
They won't get that.
And then I seen the other flip to it too, where I'm living through my kid. Why? Because then you turn your kid completely away from the game they love.
But so many people haven't had that fulfillment, Cortney. They haven't. They still live in that. Just to keep you guys going, we got Courtney Scott here and Donte Adams here, giving us some feedback from that 2000 Waverly Championship team, and the things they're discussing are very applicable today. We're talking about being fulfilled. We're talking about being able to live your own life and not put that on your children. Right. Donte, when you see and you hear us having this conversation, we're here in this packed gym right now. What does it make you think about as far as what the next generation of athletes need to focus on to find their success?
Like he said, I think the next generation needs to learn how to love the game.
Okay.
A lot of people love the 3-ball now. You know, sure. Kyrie made that popular. The highlights.
Right.
But they don't love the game, you know. And if you're not winning, they're not doing what it takes to get better.
Sure.
You know, because this guy is winning. This guy, he's a superstar.
Right.
Winning, losing, or drawing, we love the game. We were playing the game. We were out. You had to make us come inside and stop shooting the basketball.
But think of this, Donte. It wasn't the individual stats with us.
No, it wasn't.
It was the extra stuff, right? It was taking the charges. It was boxing people out. Who was getting the rebound. That was the stuff that made us good.
How about we walk in practice and they'd be like, Cortney took 5 charges. Marcus took 3 charges.
So wait a minute.
It wasn't points.
It wasn't like people saying, we lost, but I had 30.
No.
It wasn't that kind of conversation.
No.
Because that's what you hear a lot.
No.
You hear somebody say, yeah, we lost, but I had this, and that, almost to justify it. It's like, dude, if you lost, I ain't really nothing to talk about.
What is 30 if you lost?
To me, that's the most selfish thing that you can do. The hardest thing in my career, right? I played after college, right? I played 9 years professional, right? I had one team that could put their personal
9 years professional
aside, their personal roles aside, and unfortunately, we created that, right? As a society, we created. And my man had 62.
Yeah,
but they got beat by 45, bro. They don't mean nothing to me at that point, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And the sad part is we created that monster, right? And you don't look at the guy that's doing the dirty work. You don't look at the guy that's doing, the rebounds, the blockouts. I remember there was a guy that played at East Lansing. They used to call him the garbage man when I was a freshman. I think he graduated my sophomore year. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He did nothing but rebound. He did nothing but block out, rebound, did all the dirty stuff. And I remember my dad telling me, you need to be like him. And a lot of players nowadays, you see guys like, you need to be like Kobe. You need to be like Kyrie.
No, what about the guy cutting off the baseline?
No, bro.
What about the help?
Put that foot out of bounds.
Foot out of bounds. Cut off the baseline.
Because you need those guys. And that's the thing.
So do coaches need to promote that then?
I think that a lot of coaches promote that, but you got a lot of offensive influences, right?
Sure.
I'm like Coach Watson and I talked. He said, Cortney, why don't you come back to coach? I would love for you to come back to coach. I can't. He said, why? I said, because I can never get a person that never played the game, that never went to the level I went to understand why I need your kid to cut off the baseline.
Right.
To take a charge and heat a moment.
Why are we playing games like war when you got to box out until the ball hits the floor? If you don't, the defense got to run. It's
championship basketball being discussed right here, folks.
That's Coach Izzo. Coach Izzo was one of the guys. I remember sitting and watching his practices. I mean, war drill for rebounds.
They still do war now. Right now, if you interview the current Michigan State team, I have press credentials. I cover all their games. If you interview them, they say the hardest thing for them to do is war. They say that.
Imagine me doing war running into him.
What war is. Tell people what war is.
It's all-out war.
Yeah.
It's winner. It doesn't matter, bro. Ain't no foul. It's nothing. It's get the rebound.
Get the rebound.
Get the rebound. Don't matter what. You know how many people I've been broke shoulders. I've been destroyed.
Elbows in the eye.
Destroyed them.
But you want that ball. But that's what happened when you get in the game.
Oh, yeah.
You want that ball.
You got to have that mentality. Yep. You got to have that mentality. No matter what, I'm going to get that ball.
Right. Well, I got to admit, guys, this has probably been one of the most exciting discussions I've had with two lively young men talking about their championship experience. They're still living it now. They're still breathing. As I sit here with them, the vibe I get is not just what they did playing basketball, but the type of men they are. So with the sake of time and us being able to watch this game going on, you guys want to give us some final remarks as we sign off and get ready to go on next?
Go ahead, bro.
I just hope the next generation and wish the next generation starts to love the game. I love the game of basketball, and when I watch it, I love watching people that loves the game.
And you can see it on them.
I can see it on them. It's a different energy.
Who's somebody out there like on pro living, I would say, Kobe loved it, pro or collegiate that you can see loves the game that kind of comes to mind?
I got to go with LeBron. He loves the game.
Okay.
He loves the game.
Okay.
I think LeBron loves the game. It's a few others, but it's still kind of shaky with it.
LeBron is almost 20 years in.
Right.
So no disrespect, but the crown has been moved. The crown has moved from LeBron. Giannis got it. Giannis got it.
Okay. Yeah.
Giannis a whole nother monster.
And he's constantly improving this game over and over. Courtney, you got any closing remarks?
I think that from the high school level, for parents, trust and believe in the high school coach. They're paid pennies on the dollar. They have a love of the game. Trust and believe that. A lot of days now, you see kids going to AAU and they're just playing. They're not learning the game. They're not learning the technique. They're not learning how to play, how to shoot, how to defend. That's critical. The fundamental part of the game is lost, in my opinion, at this level. When I lived in Europe, I would tell you, Ersan Aselovic was my teammate when I was a first-year pro in Turkey. Ersan learned the basics, and then he moved up. Nowadays, these kids need to learn that. And the funny thing is, I was telling Coach Neller today, I would love to see a shot clock at the high school level, just me personally.
Yeah. I think that may be working its way in.
Right. And
what's the benefit of that?
Because not only do you learn how to move the ball, play as a team, take good shots. I remember, I think it was our third game. Was it Lansing Catholic Central? They started for 3.5, 4 quarters. Yeah. And it took a look.
Dean Smith, North Carolina, 4 quarters.
Man, 4 corners. Everybody started the game out. Can we just beat somebody by 51? And it took the game away from us. And I think nowadays we need that. We need that shot clock area, that screen. And I'm not saying 24 seconds. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, it's on the next
even
level.
35.
Even
I'm
if
good
you
with
have
that.
more time,
35.
it's on the next level.
Just come down, set a play, get the coach an opportunity to put a play in place and possibly a counter to learn how to play within the team setting and take a good quality shot. Because the thing that drives me insane is seeing a kid, first of all, Coach Campy taught me this at Oakland, stepping on the 3-point line.
Shout out to Coach Campy.
You know it. Greg. Stepping on the 3-point line, taking a 2-point shot basically, instead of taking half a step back.
So you took a long two.
Yeah. And then from there is the mid-range. I think that's where I live my career. I live my career.
You ate off the mid-range?
12, 15 feet. I can still hit it to this day.
Wow.
And I think a lot of kids, for me, back to the basket, there's not a lot of good guys that can teach basket to basket move. We got the Joel Embiid's, right? Joel Embiid's, where he has the footwork. He don't have the mental toughness, in my opinion, but he has the footwork. But if you look at the net, you don't have a lot of guys that have the back to the basket footwork. I was very blessed to learn that. These kids nowadays, you got the stretch 4 and the 5, but the 5 is really just a screen guy to come out to shoot the 3. You got to learn how to score back to basket. You got to learn how to get the jump hooks right or left hand. Not just right hand.
All those things that are not sexy but important. I got to go back to that mid-range. You know, someone I saw who mastered the mid-range and it got him to the playoffs, CJ McCollum, excuse me, with Portland when that one game he went off and he just, and you can't fake that.
Hey,
it's going.
You talking about master the mid-range? Richard Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Rip didn't shoot a three-pointer until his last 3 years in the NBA.
Wow.
Rip played. I remember going at Oakland when I was at Oakland. We would practice all the time. Rip taught me, Cortney, master this. 1-2 dribble pull-ups. And I remember telling kid, there was a guy named by the name of Richard Hamilton that played at Oakland. Phenomenal player. And I remember my first year coming back from overseas, I said, Rip, learn how to do 1-2 dribble pull-up. He said, no, you know, he's 19, 20, 21. I'm getting to the basket. And then when he played overseas, he going against guys 7 foot, 285, 295, and they body him up and they throwing them to the ground, and there ain't no foul in Europe. Ain't no foul in Europe. It's straight body up, right? And he's like, man, I wish I had took your advice, because now shooting that little jumper, shooting the floater, learning how to make plays other ways, don't only make you more marketable from this level, makes you marketable to the next level.
And they're on the back foot. It's hard to jump off your back foot.
Hands down.
These some serious ball players right here. We seem like we might have a future hoop podcast going on, man. We can go keep it through it. I like this idea. We got Courtney Scott and Donte Adams representing the 2000 Waverly Championship team. Gentlemen, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys coming to share and what you guys are doing. I want you to better enjoy this celebration, and we want to better have you guys back in the future too.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Signing off. See you guys next time.
All right. Thank you.
That's right, folks. Lindsey Huddleston with SPS back in the building on Southwest Side Detroit. How do you hit a free throw? How do you finish strong? That's important. The other part of the spectrum is
always packed, always loud, always crazy. So it's a tough place to play in. You gotta go in there with my.
So I'll be in there tomorrow. That's really my motivation. Is I want to be like Gabe Brown. Gabe Brown shoots like